of Stories. My name is Melinda, and I am here to do my April wrap-up. First of all, if you hear weird screaming, it's my son playing a video game. Just ignore it. I barely notice it now. It has become the soundtrack of my life. Secondly, I am back in my little no daughter setup until we figure out the microphone thing, because we're having issues with sound. This is probably, you're probably going to see more of this. We're just trying to figure out how to get it to sound better. But anyway, oh, I kind of look like a hot mess. I know. I had plans to do this video earlier in the day, but then Lily said she wanted to make cookie dough and watch the Golden Girls. And, you know, when your daughter's 14 years old and she says she wants to spend time with you, BookTube takes a backseat. That's just the way it is. But anyway, let's look back at April. It is today, April 30th, so I'm not going to finish anything more to read. It's safe to go ahead and do this, this wrap up now. Okay, so in April, I read 16 books. That is a high for this year. As I said, my goal is always to read at least 12 books a month, so I am doing well there. I did DNF 2 books that I cannot remember the author of one of them, but we'll get to that. I actually forgot to put my DNFs on my notes. So I'm going to stick up here. How will I do? I'll stick pictures up here of the 2 books that I DNF'd. That's all I have to say about it. Okay. My average rating for the month was 3.5 stars, which is a B+. If you're new to my channel, I don't give, what I do is I usually, and there's an exception coming up. I usually grade a book like with a letter grade, A+, A, B+, B, all the way down. And then from there, I assign a star value. I think about it in terms of grades, not stars. So my spreadsheet, when it figures it out, it gives me a star number, which is 3.5, which corresponds with the B+, which is not bad. So of those 16 books that I read, 7 were print, 7 were ebooks, and 2 were audiobooks, which is nice because last month I didn't finish any audiobooks. Now, before you think I'm an audiobook monster, which I'm not, one of those audiobooks was the one I was almost finished with, but didn't quite finish in March, and the other one was a novella, which was really short. So I still am not listening to a lot of audiobooks. And the genres of these books, if you follow my channel regularly, you saw the video that I posted on Tuesday about like another spicy opinion post. Put a card up for it. And in there, I discuss how I don't consider classics to be a genre, and then, which I don't, and I explain why in there. And if you want to know, go check it out. And then I noticed in my spreadsheet that I actually labeled some things classics, which I probably will still continue to do just to remind myself that those are classics, but I don't have a breakout for classics in this. I put them in the genre that they actually are, and I'll just tell you how many classics were in it. So of my 16 books, 6 of them were mystery. One of those would be a classic. No, you know what? I'm wrong about that. 2 of those would be classics. 4 like general fiction books, and 1 of those would be a classic. I had 3 thrillers, 1 memoir, and that would be a classic. 1 horror and 1 historical fiction. So I had 4 classics this month. There you go. And for those of you also who have not seen that video yet, in my mind, a classic is a book that is at least 50 years old and still in print. So that's how I determine what a classic is. So let me break down the books by grade, starting from the bottom. Now, there's 2 cases in which I give a star rating instead of a grade. One is if it is one of my all-time favorite books. It is so good it is above an A+, in which case it gets 5 stars. The other is when it is so bad, and I hate that book so much I don't even want to dignify it with a letter grade, even if that grade is F, and then it gets 1 star. And I had a 1 star this month. That was The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. I know people love this book. Great, I'm glad you love it. I did not. So, you know, there's no book that's for everybody. So there you go. That book was very, very, very much not for me. I had 1 book that I gave a C to, which was Everything We Didn't Say by Nicole Bart. And then I had 2 books that got Bs. One was Snowflakes by Ruth Ware, That is a short story. It's a Kindle, an Amazon original short story. I believe you can get it like an ebook of it, and I believe you can also get an audio narration of it through Audible. So that's why, I know Ruth Ware is a very well-known, my sounds really loud, a really well-known author, and you might not have heard of them. That's why. And then the other book that got a B is a book called The Hike by Lucy Clark. I read this as an e-galley from NetGalley, and this book is set to be published on August 29th, 2023. I will probably, now that I'm kind of starting to get back into like doing some NetGalley reviewing, I may start doing like a previously mentioned but now released videos, but we'll see. We'll see when that happens. And then let's see, I had 5 books that got a B+, although I always reserve the right to change a rating, and I may change a rating here, and I'll explain why as I get there. So my B+ books were Lord Edgware Dies by Agatha Christie. This one, on plot and mystery, I probably would have given an A, but there were some really problematic things in it, and I have a video about that, which I will put up here, so you can see what I'm talking about, some problematic issues. And then I had The Woman in Blue by Ruth Galloway, by Ruth Galloway. That's number 8 in the Ruth Galloway series by Ellie Griffiths. So I'm going to keep that one as a B+. And then there's The Levy by William Kent Kruger. That is the audio novella I listened to. If there comes a point when this novella is available in print and I'm able to read it, right now you can only get it in audio version, that might change, because my issue with it was that I was listening to it. I just like to read William Kent Kruger. And then The Feast by Margaret Kennedy, which was one of my classics. Also, Lord Edgware Dies is another classic there. And then here's one I might change, and that's The Chalk Pit by Ruth Galloway. I did it again. It's not by Ruth Galloway. The Chalk Pit, number 9 in the Ruth Galloway series by Ellie Griffiths. And I hadn't realized until I was putting this together that I gave The Woman in Blue and The Chalk Pit the same rating, and I'm not sure that that's fair. The Woman in Blue was pretty strong. There were just some like niggling things to it. Like I kind of felt like we kind of got away from the mystery a couple times, but it wasn't anything big. Chalk Pit, 95% of the book was excellent, and the last 5%, plot-wise, it was fine, but there were some writing decisions made that kind of surprised me, because Ellie Griffiths is a much better writer than that. So I don't know if you put them next to each other that it's fair to both have them at a B+. I may be moving The Chalk Pit down to a B. And then I had 5 books that got an A. I had Forbidden Notebook by I'm going to try my best with this. Alba de Cespedes, translated by Anne Goldstein. This is a classic. It was originally published in 1950 in Italian. However, it's just recently been translated into English. And then I had When We Were Sisters by Fatima Asghar. The Word is Murder, which is the first of the Hawthorne and Horowitz series by Anthony Horowitz. A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. And Bobcat and Other Stories by Rebecca Lee. And then finally, I had 2 books that got an A+. And the first one is Come Tell Me How You Live by Agatha Christie Mallowan. That one is a memoir, but it's also a classic. So there's another classic. And then Wandering Souls by Cecile Pinn, which was on the long list, but very sadly not on the short list of the Women's Prize. So, as far as read-alongs and events in April, I committed to doing 2. I committed to Agatha April and People April. And I committed to doing apparently the bare minimum of them. Agatha in April was read Agatha Christie, and there was a date where you're supposed to be reading over that weekend. I always read at least one Agatha Christie book a month. So I have 2 Agatha Christie books on here. The one I'm counting for that is Come Tell Me How You Live. I'm just going to consider Lord Edgware Dies my normal Agatha Christie reading. So Come Tell Me How You Live was the one that was kind of above and beyond, and for Agatha in April. And it's also a memoir, so it's People April too. You can tell I did the bare minimum for 2 and was able to only use 1 book. Come Tell Me How You Live. You know what? I did a video on it. I'll tag that one up too. I think I still have room to do another card. But it is a memoir about Agatha Christie's trips to the Middle East on archaeological digs with her second husband, Max Mallowan. And if you notice, it's written by Agatha Christie Mallowan. After I read it and after I reviewed it and all that, I listened to the All About Agatha podcast. They had a Patreon episode on this book. And they said, and I realized once they said that it is right, that this book is a love letter to her husband, but it was very delightful. So that's all I have for read-alongs and events in April. And so I'm going to do my year stats. I did this during this month. I really went through my TBR spreadsheet with a fine-tooth comb, and I took out books I realized I was not ever going to read for whatever reason, but I also found books that may have been duplicated in that spreadsheet, or maybe listed as an owned book when it wasn't, or wasn't listed as an owned book when it was, or in a couple cases it was not marked off as read when I had read it in the past. So for that, this month I'm going to tell you what my numbers are for my owned TBR. And then starting next month, now that I know that I have that TBR in a pretty good shape, I will start reflecting the month-to-month change. It would look really weird. It would look really weird if I did this month. So we're going to start next month. But as for my reading goal, my goal is 144 books for the year of 2023. That's 12 books a month. And I am ahead. I should be at 48 books, and I am at 54 out of 144. So I am doing really well on that. And then my owned TBR count is currently at 740 books. And for those of you who just gasped in shock, it used to be a lot worse than that. Now that's for everything. But as far as trying to diminish my TBR, I am not worrying about audiobooks at this point. So the rest of these numbers does not include audiobooks. I do have 157, and these are books I own, 157 print books on my owned TBR, and 514 ebooks on my owned TBR. Ebooks are really easy to overbuy because there's nothing physical. There you go. And of those ebooks, 152 are on my Kindle. That includes Galleys from NetGalley. It's easier to get them on my Kindle than it is to get them on my Kobo. And 362 are on my Kobo. So those are my numbers. And that was my month. I have done a couple of really long videos, so I'm going to keep this one short. And I am looking forward to May. As I said, today is April 30th. Tomorrow I start... Well, I have committed to 2 readathons in May. Mental Health May, which I accidentally started early. I started reading Faithful by Alice Hoffman because it was in my TBR basket. And I thought, oh, this is kind of a short book. We'll just read this one. And I love Alice Hoffman. I did not realize it was about a woman with severe depression. So I'm not going to finish it in April. So I'm going to count it towards Mental Health May. So I'm doing that readathon, and I am doing Horror Mayhem, which I am being really good, and I haven't started anything until tomorrow, and I have my short story book collection ready to go. So I am looking forward to a really productive reading-wise in May. And with that, I'm going to leave you, and if you made it this far, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you can hear me blather on. As I always say, I do babble. I know I babble. I talk too fast. It's who I am. If you met me in real life, this is what you'd get. Go ahead and subscribe to me, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.